going through my stuff, my archives, and this morning I found this, which is the very first issue of the World Airline Hobby Club's Captain's Log publication. It dates from 1975, so it definitely classifies as a piece of airline collectible memorabilia, and even perhaps I would go so far as to call it a relic, an antique from the collecting hobby. This was published by Paul Collins in 1975 as issue number 1. For those of you that are aware of the Airliners International shows that are held in major cities of the US each summer, these shows were born from this incredible publication. It's only 18 pages right in this particular first issue. Only 18 pages were published, and of course now the Society has a lot of interest globally, and their shows are very well supported in the US. I'm sure many of you have attended them. What was interesting to me is there's a page in this publication that shows the first members to actually join, the first registered members of the World Airline Hobby Club. And I'm going to read them to you because there's some names here that some of you might know. There's Drew Eubanks of Elgin, Illinois. Carl Reese, Kansas City, Missouri. Carl is the airline safety card collector, and I had no idea he was in the World Airline Hobby Club from day one. So congratulations, Carl. That's quite an accomplishment. We have Milton Siebert from Sunol, California. Phil Fleener of Arvada, Colorado. Ron Kluk from Chicago. Hi, Ron. Great to see you in here. That is really amazing, Ron. It's wow. What can I say? Donnie Head, slide collector from College Park, Georgia. There's Jerry Soltis of Buffalo, New York. Then we have Brian Ross Bebb from Miami, Florida. Paul Collins, of course, who was the founder of the club, and a lot of thanks go out to Paul for creating this incredible society. Then we have Herbert Leinberger of Phoenix, Arizona. Then there's Tom Petterson of Kettering, Ohio. Then we have Robert D. Trader of Rising Sun in Indiana. Bob Trader, I believe, is an aircraft slide collector, although I have never met him, but he was certainly collecting slides back in 1975. We have James Arnold of Odessa, Texas. Jay Pickering of St. Collierville. I'd like to tell you about Jetflix TV. They're the new streaming service for hardcore aviation fans. You'll find just heaps of classic airline and vintage military aircraft videos. These are full-length shows, not short 5-minute dinky little amateur clips. Plus, they have their own in-house produced mini-series, and none of this stuff you'll find anywhere else. And all the shows are sorted into very convenient categories to make looking for shows very, very simple. This platform was truly engineered for hardcore aviation fans. Ohio, there is a Dwayne Mealy of Midvale, Utah. And last but not least is James D. Scroggins II of Las Vegas, Nevada. So there's Doug Scroggins, I believe, is his son. So really incredible to find this historic document. I am just gobsmacked. They actually had an article on British Caledonian Airways. This was all hand typed, and they gave a fleet list. And this is amazing what we had to do before the internet. This is called the Flight Exchange, where people would list their aviation want ads, things that they had for sale or that they were wanting to add to their collection. So, for example, we have Paul Collins. He's looking to buy material on the 737 and 727, books, photos, and slides, drawings, etc. Jay Pickering is desperately looking for postcards of Lake Central Airways and Mohawk Airlines. Jack Splinter is interested in postcards, photos of commercial airliners from the 50s and early 60s. A good friend of mine who was a crew member on a B-52 at Grand Forks Air Force Base when I attended university in Grand Forks was a friend of Jack Splinter, and had traded and collected thousands of postcards, many old ones that came from Jack Splinter. So I know that name from the early 1980s. And then Doug Wendt is, he has a number of old timetables for sale, including United Airlines 1938, Northwest 1952, Northwest 53. Mark Strzowski. Mark is an aircraft slide collector who's on the airlinehobby.com website. Hi, Mark. I had no idea that you dated this far back. Mark Strzowski of Connecticut is looking for anything to do with Courtline and Liat. Photos, pictures, postcards, slides, posters, etc. Jerry Soltis, Buffalo. He is looking for toys, models, and airline travel agent display models, dirigibles, Tootsie toys, Hubley, Dinky, new or old. Then we have Ron Kluk. He has some models for sale, plastic kits. Goma Viscount, Marison DC7, Revel DC7, and Varig Coma Electra, whatever that is. Then we have, last but not least, Phil Fleener is looking for the following kits, and he lists a whole bunch of kits that he was looking for back then. And what else do we have? We have a listing of prospective members. So these are people that had not yet joined, and that includes George Minarik, James Knepper, Harvey Mills, Robert Askus, Chris Allen Knoll, Steve Mason, Matthew Rodina, John Moore, Tom Kalina. It's a name that I know. And of course, Eric Bernhard from, at the time, Lithonia, Georgia. So there you are, Eric. Eric is another aircraft slide collector who's very active on the airlinehobby.com slide auction website. So really fascinating to see a number of names, some names that I'm familiar with, going back to April, June 1975. So how many years ago is that? So that is 45 years ago from the date of my filming this video. So what else have we got here in this particular issue? We've got some advertisements, some interesting advertisements that were typed by Paul. We have ads for Victor 66 Products of Santee, California. They produced an airline modeling newsletter back in the mid-1970s. Then we have the Kit Collectors Clearinghouse. If you are looking for that rare kit at your local hobby store with no luck, the Kit Collectors Clearinghouse may have just what you are looking for. Then we have VHF Supplies of Noble Corner, Great West Road, Hounslow, Middlesex, England. So many of you have probably been to this store over the decades. I would have loved to have been there if I was young enough. So it says VHF Hobby Supplies, just about everything the airline collector is looking for in the way of reading material. They have airlines and airliner series, JP World Airline Fleets, aviation magazines, Air Britain, radio charts, and a number of other interesting titles. Also available are model kits and decals. And last but not least is a listing from Jack Splinter, ACP of Tacoma, Washington. It says here that Jack specializes in postcards and has quite a number of listings available. He charges just 35 cents. And they give Jack's address to contact Jack if you'd like to buy some postcards from him. And this is on this side here is the introductory article or message from Paul Collins welcoming people to the concept of the Captain's Log and the World Airline Hobby Club. So this is the founding document. You might call it the Magna Carta or the Constitution almost of the airline hobby collecting passion that dates back, as we can now document, to 1975. But of course it had existed beyond then as well, far back beyond then. What was the article about what was the feature article? It was about the Boeing 737 airliner. And that was a 2 or 3 page article that was written by Paul Collins and gave interesting statistics on the aircraft and its deliveries up to that date and time. And Yeah, it was actually quite I mean, if you look at the detail that was provided by Paul, it was quite detailed. A lot of this stuff was written by him. It wasn't just cut and paste from other sources. It was a very interesting snapshot look at airlines and how it related to being a collector back in the day. So this is an amazing document that there's a help wanted section as well in here, which is really quite unique, and I'll share some of that with you too. Look at that. So basically, this is so these are articles that Paul had written to encapsulate the kind of people that he was looking for to help him grow the magazine. So he's looking for a photographer to write a column on each issue on the finer points of taking good photos of aircraft. So he says articles for this column could contain information on what type of camera is best suited for shooting in-flight shots of aircraft and getting those on-the-ground close-up views at airports. He says, although there are a number of outstanding photographic magazines on the market, I feel that the airlines are a special field that need to be the focus of individual attention from an experienced photographer to help us. He calls us noviciates. Novices, I guess, is what he is referring to here. He says, as many pages are necessary, will be devoted to the subject of airline photography in future issues of the Captain's Log. So this particular want for somebody to write this is kind of the grandfather. It's the earliest written vestige for somebody to create information on how to photograph airliners. And of course, we now have websites such as airliners.net. And of course, the millions of people that take photos of aircraft throughout the world in 2020, they can all kind of thank and look back to Paul Collins at the World Airline, his hobby club, for being such a forerunner in that. And then they're also looking for photographs of models are requested for the modeler showcase. Photos will be returned after they have been used. They're also looking for an experienced modeler to write a column in each issue on how-to items. The subject field here is endless. How do you make an Aurora 747 look like a 747? How can you stretch a Revel 727 to a Series 200? How to scratch build the older aircraft types. It is really, really incredible that Paul Collins was such a visionary on where our hobby has come in the last 45 years since he put this all together. Paul Collins passed away a number of years ago, but there are many people at the Airline Historical Society that now carry the torch forward, and you can support that group. I strongly recommend you head over to their website. Check out Airliners International. They are the organizers of the annual shows in the U.S., big airline collectible shows in the U.S. each year. And with the COVID situation, I'm not sure what their plans are for this year, but under normal circumstances, their shows are absolutely fantastic. And thank you for watching this video. I hope you've enjoyed my review of this 45-year-old document that is a Magna Carta on the airline enthusiast and airline memorabilia collecting hobbies. Thanks again.